Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, President, Vice Presidents, faculty, staff, families, friends, and above all, dear doctors. Welcome to the graduation ceremony for the 2024 PhD graduates of the Institut Polytechnique de Paris. Today marks the end of one of the most demanding academic journeys, but it is also a celebration of your passion for discovery, your perseverance, and your contribution to science and advancing knowledge. Over the past few years, you weren't just learning or training, you were doing real research. You were pushing the boundaries of what we know in your fields. You didn't just ask new questions, which is already at the heart of scientific work and inquiry. You actually went where no one has ever been before. That's what it means to create new knowledge and understanding, and that's what earned you your title of doctor. We are proud of what you've achieved, and we look forward to seeing what you will do next. Congratulations to each and every one of our 271 new doctors. And now, please join me in giving a very warm welcome to the President of IP Paris, Professor Thierry Counot. Thank you.
Dear colleagues, I would like in particular to greet Elisabeth Crépon, our new Vice President for Education and Student Life. Dear doctoral graduates, dear families and friends, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great emotion and pride that I stand before you to celebrate this moment of achievement, the conferral of your doctoral degree. You are 271 graduates today, the result of several years of demanding work, marked by perseverance, solitude at times, but always intellectual intensity and personal commitment. To each and every one of you, I offer my warmest congratulations. Let me also pay tribute to your supervisors, your research teams, your lab directors who have guided and supported you throughout this journey. And of course, a special word for your loved ones whose discreet, yes, essential presence often helped you get through the difficult moments. I would like to especially congratulate the recipients of the IP Paris Thesis Award. Souhaib, Clément, Abdelaziz, Rafaela, Alice, Baptiste, Mathieu, Rafaela again, Nikita, it will be your moment in a few minutes. Their work reflects the academic excellence that lies at the heart of our institution. Our doctoral community embodies the diversity, openness, and intellectual rigor that define French and, should I say, European research. You represent 39 different nationalities. More than that, 45% of you are international graduates. And I'm pleased to see and to say that 88 of you are women PhDs. These figures say a lot about the kind of institution we are building at IP Paris, a global scientific powerhouse open to the world, attracting top talent and promoting gender equality in research. Let me also highlight something that is sometimes overlooked. Nearly 1 in 5 engineering graduates from IP Paris pursue a PhD. That is a great strength for our country. In a world increasingly drawn to short-term gains, you have chosen the long road, the road of intellectual discipline, of building lasting knowledge. That is a powerful choice. Your doctorate has equipped you to tackle the major challenges of our time, from climate change to the digital revolution, from technological innovation to questions of scientific and industrial sovereignty. You now have the foundation to forge your own path, whether in academia, in industry, or through entrepreneurship. Wherever you go, you carry with you solid knowledge, a rigorous method, and a free and questioning mind. I also want to say a word about that freedom. In a world marked by uncertainty and growing geopolitical tension, the independence of research, academic freedom, and open scientific dialogue are more precious than ever. Europe, in this respect, has a singular responsibility to uphold a model based on institutional autonomy, the free circulation of ideas, and a rigorous ethic of inquiry. At a time when science is sometimes subject to political pressure or ideological drift, our continent must stand as a space for open, responsible, and independent knowledge production. This is precisely the spirit in which IP Paris was founded. Our project is ambitious. Much remains to be done, but it has never been more essential. Bringing together great schools, great laboratories, and great talents who are building an institution that serves science, innovation, and society in France, in Europe, and beyond. To all of you, new doctors, by earning this degree, you join an international community of scientists committed to understanding, enlightening, and transmitting. This is a privilege, but above all, a responsibility. We are proud of you, and we are counting on you. In particular, we count on you to join the IP Paris Alumni Association. Let me conclude by warmly thanking the graduate school's administrative teams, as well as the IP Paris communications team, whose commitment and professionalism play a key role in making this ceremony and indeed this journey possible for every doctoral candidate. Their work often goes unseen, but it is essential. Thank you.
Thank you, Thierry, for this inspiring speech. And now, please join me in welcoming our Vice President for Research, Professor Kees van der Beek, Professor of Physics, specialized in solid-state physics.
Thank you very much, Hani. Welcome to everybody. Hello to our doctoral graduates, to their families, to their advisors, to the academic staff, and all colleagues here. Congratulations. You have, over the last few years, pushed the boundaries of knowledge, increased the corpus of knowledge of mankind. You have built your own project and brought it to fruition. It is not an easy task, but also rewarding in a day like this. You are our pride. You can be proud of yourselves. Bravo. It's a wonderful day for you here. But with the accomplishment of this scientific mission comes responsibility. Of course, you will pursue now in society, be it in academia or outside, applying your knowledge, furthering it, pursuing your own research activity, or pursuing an activity in the socio-economical sector. We do not know. But wherever you go, you carry one important thing. It is the application of the scientific method in pursuing goals, be they academic or not, rational thinking, which, as our president has just stated, there is too much lack of in today's world, in today's society. This is a specific responsibility to apply the scientific method and rationality. The second is the pledge for scientific integrity, and there is now the scientific oath for new graduate students. It is an important asset, and it has to be taken extremely seriously. The third is the application of knowledge and the spawning of new knowledge to the benefit of society, and to go out to society and carry them what you have learned, what you know, your arguments in the social debate, so that this will not be based on mere assumptions, suppositions, but on fact, on experiment, on rigid thought and calculations. And the last is to pass on the knowledge, whichever it is, the one you have learned here, the one you will develop for the generations that will be after you. This is extremely important. This is how we build our society and how we are together what we are. Last but not least, you will be our ambassadors. We are extremely proud of what you have done here for our labs, for Institut Politique de Paris, for its member schools. It is in a very great part that science is being done by young scientists, by graduate students. Your part in this, in the production of scientific knowledge at IP Paris, has been essential over the last few years. And for this, I thank you. With all my warmest congratulations, and see you on stage in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Kees. Now, we welcome to the stand the directors of the doctoral schools of IP Paris, Professor Adriana Tapus, Director of IP Paris Multidisciplinary Doctoral School, and Professor François Roueff, Deputy Director of the Adamar Mathematics Doctoral School. Thank you.
So, dear colleagues, doctors, and family members, so together with my colleague, so both of us, so directors of the Doctoral School of IP Paris, so we are really delighted to welcome you to this IP Paris PhD graduation ceremony. So first, let me offer my sincere and heartfelt congratulations to the 271 new doctors receiving so their doctoral degrees today. 227 from the Doctoral School of IP Paris and 44 from the Adamar Doctoral School of Mathematics. Among you, we proudly count 88 women and 123 international graduates, a reflection of the rich diversity, outstanding excellence, and international spirit that define IP Paris. Today is not just a formal occasion. It's a celebration of your dedication, your perseverance, and your brilliant achievement. Many of you are surrounded today by family, friends, partners, spouses, mentors, people who are just as proud and thrilled as we are to witness this milestone. You have traveled a long and demanding path, 3, 4, sometimes more years spent working on advanced state-of-the-art research and proving your ability to push the limits of your field. Earning your doctorate from IP Paris, one of the world's top institutions, is truly a distinguished accomplishment. I would also like to thank your families and friends for their continuous support, patience, and encouragement throughout this journey. And of course, we extend our deepest gratitude to your professors, supervisors, and mentors, whose guidance, expertise, and commitment have helped shape the outstanding researchers that you have become. You may wonder today, what is the difference now compared to when you first began this journey? So, first of all, people can call you doctor, even if you're not a medical doctor. So that's the first thing. The second, I think it's as a holder of a PhD from IP Paris, you have reached the highest academic degree. You are now equipped to conduct research independently and confidently in your area of research. And perhaps most importantly, you have built a solid scientific foundation, one that prepares you to face new challenges and seize new opportunities in your professional life wherever that may lead you. So the degree that you receive today is not just a diploma, it is a symbol of your resilience, your intellectual curiosity, and your commitment to advancing technology. It opens doors to exciting and diverse careers, whether in academia, industry, entrepreneurship, or beyond. So I encourage you to explore new horizons, trust in your abilities, never be discouraged, stay positive, and always be proud, not only of your accomplishments, but also of your connection to your alma mater, IP Paris, and its alumni community. And to conclude, so let me have you with the words of Albert Einstein. So try not to become a person of success, but rather try to become a person of value. Congratulations once again. We are so proud of you all.
Thank you, Adriana. Of course, I agree with all what you and Albert Einstein said. And I just want to add a sentence and a wish. So the sentence is that science requires a sense of common purpose within which all can contribute, share their views with each other, and demonstrate their talents by doing so. And my wish is for all of you to be able to keep this mindset along your scientific career to come. Thank you very much.
So I would also like to thank the scientific responsibles who are part of the doctoral schools. So Amel Bouzegoub, Thomas Bonald, Benjamin Doer, Liridana Wiener, Frédéric Lechmann, Nicolas David, Cédric Tar, Marie-Claire Chanklein, Mathieu Nguyen, David Boschetto, Nicolas Motis, Julia Combe, Sébastien Michelin, Abibou Metournam, Yann Polcher, Frédéric Brechenmacher, Eliane Begache, Olivier Lemaître, Victor Emmanuel Brunel. Thank you all for your invaluable contributions. Your commitment ensures the strength and excellence of our doctoral schools. So now I would like to welcome on the stage, so the scientific responsible who could be today with us. So Amel Bouzegoub, Nicolas David, Cédric Tar, Marie-Claire Chanklein, Liridana Wiener, Sébastien Michelin. I would also like to welcome on the stage, so Kes van der Beek, so the VP Research and Innovation, and Elisabeth Crépon, Vice President of Education and Student Life. And Annie Hamza, so the graduate.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Adriana and Francois. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to introduce today's keynote speaker, a visionary scientist, a pioneering entrepreneur, and one of our own, Dr. Rémi Dangla, who is an alumnus of the Institut Polytechnique de Paris and holds a PhD in mechanics from École Polytechnique. As co-founder of Stella Technologies, Dr. Dangla developed cutting-edge digital PCR systems that are revolutionizing genetic diagnosis across the globe. His journey from the labs of IP Paris to leading one of France's most celebrated biotech success stories embodies the power of science, courage, and creativity. Thank you, everyone, and welcome Dr. Rémi Dangla.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the very generous introduction. So I can barely see you, but I know you look great now with the uniform. I was standing in this room about 12, 13 years ago, receiving my PhD from LADix. And back then, I already knew what I wanted to do for the next part of my career. I knew I was going to start a company. I was going to start a startup, Stella Technologies, to take the technologies I had invented during my PhD in the field of physics, microfluidics, and apply them in something I didn't know at all, which was genetics. And it's been an amazing journey for the past 12, 13 years, and I'm here today to share part of that experience and maybe give you a few clues, a few hints to help you, make your next career decision. And hopefully some of you will also take the decision to start a company themselves and be the next success story of IP Paris. So I'm going to start my presentation by explaining you the end of the story. I'm going to start by telling you about what is the company I created, Stella Technologies, today. And then I'll finish by giving you a bit of explanations on the beginnings. So Stella Technologies, it's a company that I created in 2013, right after doing my PhD. And the mission we had at the time is still the mission we have today. What we envision to do is to improve health by providing tools to clinicians, doctors, lab technicians to do high-precision genetic testing. And we do so by leveraging a technology that's called digital PCR. I will do a little bit of science. I won't do a full course on quantum mechanics, but I will talk a bit about the products nonetheless. It was born here, and the company went international in the last 12 years. We raised significant amounts of funding to build the products and develop the company, about 80 million in total. And we are now a commercial stage company that has products all over the globe. And as I will explain later, we are about to get acquired by a US company for about $275 million. So that's kind of the end. Going back to why I went into this field, so I did a PhD in the field of microfluidics, manipulating tiny amounts of liquids. And there are so many things you can do with microfluidics that I had to choose an application. And I came in contact with the field of genetics, genetic testing, going to conferences during my PhD, and I hope you had that privilege of also meeting other peers in other fields. And I discovered 10 years ago that in the field of genetics, there was a big challenge. We knew that in all biological samples, typically a tube of blood that you take in a doctor's office, you have about all the information about your health in that tube of blood, but most of the biomarkers that are of interest to the doctors is present in trace quantities. In a tube of blood, you have as many DNA molecules as you have trees in the Amazon forest, but most of the DNA comes from healthy cells. That DNA tells you about who you are, and you cannot really change who you are. What's of interest is DNA that will come from cancer cells, from viruses, bacteria, and hopefully you want to find those in small amounts, because if they're present in big amounts, it's usually a big problem and too late for patients. So you really need to be able to have technologies that can detect and quantify DNA and traces amounts. And this is where the concept of digital PCR comes in handy. The idea of digital PCR is to take the sample that you want to analyze, and first, before doing a chemical reaction that everybody knows about since COVID now, that is called PCR, so before doing this PCR reaction, we're going to take the sample and split it into tens of thousands of partitions. And so imagine that at the start of your, before splitting the sample, you had a very complex biological samples that had all types of DNA molecules. Once you've partitioned it, you've separated the DNA molecules in different compartments. And so now you can do this PCR reaction in each partition, and the PCR reaction will color the droplets of interest in different colors depending on what type of DNA they contain. So if a droplet contains normal DNA, it will turn out blue. If it contains DNA from a tumor cell, it will turn out red. I'm oversimplifying, but that is the general principle. And so what's key in this process of digital PCR is being able to take a tiny sample, split it into tens of thousands of partitions, and do this PCR reaction. And this is where I came in with a microfluidics technology, as I'll explain after. But once you've done this partitioning step, once you've colored droplets, you can just count the number of blue, red, green, yellow droplets, and you can know how many DNA molecules you had in your sample down to the single molecule level, which is the ultimate sensitivity level you can reach in analytics. And so what we did at Stilla is we took this principle of digital PCR, we improved it in something that we call crystal digital PCR, and then as a company, we had to make it a product that could be disseminated in labs all across the world. And so we had to build an instrumentation, we had to build consumables, we had to build factories to make the instruments and consumables, we had to build software powered by AI to analyze the huge amounts of data we generate. We had to develop the reagents that do this PCR reaction, develop all the tests that can be done on the instruments. And so it's been 12 years of highly multidisciplinary work that has been performed by dozens and dozens of PhD students that came from mechanics, physics, chemistry, molecular biology, data engineering, and all fields. And I think this is one of the most interesting thing about science that I hope I've encountered here at IP Paris, is that science is intrinsically a work of teams. Multidisciplinary science is, I think, where you have the most potential to advance knowledge. And I really think that IP Paris is an excellent place to perform such advancements of science. And so today our products, and this is what I'm most proud about, is that our products have started to change how clinical diagnostics are being performed. We have labs such as CHU Pont-Saillou in Rennes who are using our products to change how patients are being treated, cancer patients are being treated. And obviously it's a responsibility, but it is the end goal, and we are really proud to be empowering those customers. We also have companies such as bioMérieux, one of the leading infectious disease company in the world, a French company, that has adopted our products and believes that digital PCR will be the future for technology for diagnostics. It's not yet being used for those applications, but this is science in the making. And today, our products serve huge market potentials. So we have products being used, as I said, in liquid biopsy. This is a $3 billion market. We have also many customers using our products to develop cell and gene therapies, advanced pharmaceuticals. This is a $4 billion market. And we have infectious disease as a long-term goal. And this market potential, combined with the innovation, is what really made the value of the company. But I started 12 years ago. The products didn't exist. So what was the starting point? Well, the starting point was a PhD in the field of microfluidics. And the concept of digital PCR already existed. Microfluidics also existed as well. But microfluidics was hard to be implemented outside of a microfluidics lab. There's a saying in the field of microfluidics that everybody is working on lab on a chip, but the reality is that you have a chip in the lab. And so what I was working on is an approach thinking, how can we change droplet microfluidics so that it can be easy to use? How can we change it so that you don't have to use pumps, you don't have to have tubings, you don't have to have high-speed imagery? How can you make it simple, integrated into an instrument that can be used by any lab technician that does those PCR reactions every day? And the approach that we adopted was to rethink the way we're going to manipulate small quantities of liquid. And so instead of pushing liquids using flows, we decided we were going to use the geometry around the droplet, the tiny droplets. We're going to use the geometry of those chips to manipulate the droplets. And the principle is something that we called droplet production by confinement gradient. And the idea is that if you take a non-wetting droplet, a water droplet, and you try and push it between two hydrophobic walls, the droplet doesn't want to be squeezed. It wants to be spherical, so it's going to push back on the walls. That's the general idea. And so now if you take this same spherical droplet and you try to press it, sorry, doesn't work. There. Nope. If you try to press it into a wedge geometry, the droplet won't be able to go into the wedge and will be forced back out of the wedge. And so we applied this principle in our products at Stilla. We take the reaction mixture that contains the reagents and the DNA we want to analyze. We push it into some tiny channels that you see in the movie here. The liquid is really squeezed in those channels, and then it arrives into a chamber where there's this wedge geometry, and the wedge geometry is going to pull on the aqueous phase to partition the droplets, to make those droplets and displace them into a reservoir where they arrange into this beautiful crystal that you see in the movie. It's a bit like replacing gravity that makes water drop from a faucet and using surface tension and geometry at tiny scales to do that. And that's what I invented during my PhD, and that's when I had that in my hands that I discovered by kind of randomness digital PCR, and I said, there's a perfect match. There's an application, there's a technical, an application in the field of digital PCR, and I have a tool to make it simple, and I'm going to start the company to try and build those products. And this is how I came then to digital PCR, and then this is how the products came to be. And I could detail those in 1 hour and a half, but I only have 20 minutes total, so I'm gonna leave it at that. And if you have questions, you can talk to me afterwards or reach out later. And so in 12 years, it's been 12 years of success. It's 12 years of challenges too, and I'm sure a PhD is also something like that, successes and challenges. We had to launch 3 generations of our products. We now have a technology that's serving doctors and patients. We have more than 400 customers in the world. We raised 80 million to get here. And I've had the pleasure of meeting dozens and dozens of employees, of customers from different cultures and horizons, and that's one of the greatest pleasures, I think, in my world. But also, it's also challenges. Creating a startup from nothing, you don't have money, so you need money, and you often run out of money, and that's a source of stress. But it's, I think, always the case in running a project, a group project in the long term. You have to think about that. I've had to go through IP lawsuits in the US. I've hired the wrong people. So there are so many problems you can encounter, but if you keep the will and the mission, in your heart, then you can continue and you can encourage people to follow you and to keep building towards the success that Stilla is today. And as I was saying, we now, I think, have reached the top of what the success of a startup could be. We are about to be acquired by Bio-Rad, one of the biggest biotech companies in the world, for $275 million. And so before finishing, I wanted to give you all some tools and tips if you maybe think about creating your own deep tech startup after a PhD, and I hope some of you think about that because I'm sure you have invented technologies that are well worth the effort of creating a company afterwards. So the first tip I want to give you is to maybe tell you that, in my opinion, to get started, you need to have three ingredients in your starter pack. You need 1 seed, and you need a pot to grow your startup. I'm taking the analogy of a plant. The seed has 2 parts. If you really want to have something that can be worth of a company, one, I think as a deep tech startup, you need an invention. You need something that you build in your PhD, innovation, technology. I think that's going to be the core of what you're going to bring as a PhD. But you also need an application. And an application is not just anything that technology can do. An application needs to be something that can solve a problem for a customer that has money and is willing to pay for it. And that's very important to find such applications, because if you have an idea that serves for something but there is no market value behind it, it's going to be hard to fund the developments. But if you have those 2 things, you have a seed, and then you need a pot. And the pot is a supporting environment. And here at IP Paris, I believe you have one of the most favorable environments you can think of to start a deep tech startup. You have labs, you have an incubator, you have past generations of entrepreneurs that are willing to finance and support and give you advice in building your startups. I think you also have a favorable governance. Geopolitics is something that comes and goes, but I'd say it's still favorable today to start deep tech companies. So honestly, if you have the right innovation, if you have an idea of an application that can solve a problem for people who are willing to pay, then you're in the right place to get started. And then, once you have the seed in the pot, you have to get to start to work, and you're going to need a lot more ingredients. I'd need 2 hours to explain how to put everything together. But in a nutshell, I mean, you obviously are going to have to raise funding to get cash. And here, I think in France, it's also a very favorable environment to get the first fundings to start building your products. You're going to need co-founders, first employees. You'll need to start building your first prototype, what I call the most simple viable product, very important. You need to understand your market, you need office, lab space, IP, first sales, etc. You need all those things to come together, and it's going to take time. And so I think it's important, if you want to get started, to really look at the long term and not be too in a hurry to skip phases, collect all those ingredients together, and then you can draw your line to success. And in my opinion, the most important is going to be co-founders and first employees, and that's going to be the last tip I'm going to give you. You, as a PhD, have a very analytical mind. You're specialized. You're the best expert in your field. You've advanced science in your field. But building a product, building a company, you're going to need a lot more than just your expertise. And you're going to need to assemble a team of complementary talents. This is a picture I drew a few years back. The blue part is what I believe I had as talents when I started the company. I knew mechanics, microfluidics. I could talk about what I was doing. I had a bit of physics background. But to run a company, you need HR, you need marketing, PCR. I had never done a PCR in my life, and I wanted to do digital PCR. You need many, many different aspects of running a business. And so over the years, something that I've always done is every time we hire somebody in my company, I would make sure that I was hiring somebody that was bringing something we didn't have yet. And I never hired twice the same person to the same team, because I knew that to build the product that we needed that has the complexity of our digital PCR product, we needed to assemble so many talents that even today when we have 90 employees, if I'm part of a hiring process, I always think, is that person bringing something new to the table? And if that person is not, then I believe that we're making the wrong hire and that we should increase the diversity of viewpoints, origins, technical expertise, business expertise. And that's how over the years we've been able to assemble a team of 90 people who are committed to the same mission. And I've been able to build the fantastic company, the fantastic products and customer base that we have at Stilla. So with that, I think I'm going to turn it on to you to maybe take those words of encouragement and start building your own company to go from where you are today and in 10 years' time, be the next highly successful company in whatever field, quantum computing, biotech, data science, nuclear energy. There are so many things that science can do. The potential is huge, and you're the ones to leverage that potential. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you very much, Rémi, for this inspiring speech about science, innovation, and entrepreneurship. It proves that research can not only advance knowledge, but change lives. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will begin by honoring the first group of doctors, starting with the biology PhDs. I call to the stage our Vice President of Research, Kees van der Beek, please, and Nicolas David. Please join us on stage. Thank you, everyone.
So, congratulations. Do you hear me? Yeah. Congratulations to Nikita Novikov. Peut-être Cédric Tard, responsable de la domaine de chimie.
Hello everyone, so it's my great pleasure to welcome on stage the PhD students, doctorate students in chemistry. So we're going to start with Hugo Amistadi. Alexine Chemin. Rafaela Bechara. Yi Kong Guo. Catherine Harvey. Diane Hong. Liliane Majermans. Aram Nasseri. Jisoo Ho. It's you. Ping Ping Ni. Yes, sorry. Martina Papa. And finally, Shengming Wang.
And now the economy program with Professor Adiana Tapu.
Rafaela Andres. Alicia Bassière. Chiara Belletti. Miriam Kassoul. Riccardo Norbiato.
And now to the Information, Communications and Electronics PhD program. And Lirida Naviner.
Abdelaziz Bounar. Ibrahim Djemeh. Salma Escobar Londero. Quentin Forcioli. Johanna Girard. Esther Goudet. Non. Delphine Isambert. Felipe Lisboa Malaquias. Mikhail Manokin. Peter Nawakama. Et Faker Seguir.
Congratulations to the doctors who couldn't be with us today. And now we move to the Computer Science, Data and Artificial Intelligence PhD program with Professor Amal Bouzegou.
Kodjo Edem Agbezouti. Simo Alami Cheboun. Mohamed Alouche. Souhaib Ataiki. Mariam Bari. João Paulo Bezerra de Arujo. Monsef Boukhatem. Florian Champenois. Ayman Chauki. Cyril Chon. Pablo Donato. Charles Dubo. Luciano Freitas de Souza. Hamdi Frigi. Hussam Haj Hassan. Houda Hassini. Shadi Helwe. Nicolas Hoffman. Vincent Jacob. Imen Gerbi. Sohail Khessiba. Marina Lujobevic. Karima Makhlouf. Francesco Mazzoncini. Wafa Mebrak. Jérémy Méchouche. Alexandre Poirier. Benoît-Marie Robaglia. Léa Saunier. Soriti Singh. Zegong Shangwan. Subhashini Tanigasalam. Mehdi Zadem.
Congratulations to the computer science, data, and artificial intelligence doctors who couldn't join us today. And thank you. Now, it is my great pleasure to invite two of our distinguished graduates/doctors to the stage. Dr. Alicia Bassière, who did a PhD in economics at the CREST Laboratory, and Dr. Armand Gisler, who did a PhD in applied mathematics at the CMAP Laboratory. Please give a warm welcome to our graduates.
Hi, as you can see, they were not really lucky with picking a student for the speech. So that happens. So dear professors, dear friends, dear family, but above all, dear fellow doctors, we do not know all each other. And also, I do not claim to represent everyone here. I still have the pleasure and the honor to give a few words about what I think, for me, is to becoming a doctor from IP Paris. First, I want to congratulate you, or I should say us, for the journey we have completed. We all know what a PhD entails and what it has cost us. We also know that research nowadays is not valued the way it should be. And I would like to acknowledge this institution, that is Institut Polytechnique de Paris, which provided us with resources equal to our ambitions. I am personally grateful to have conducted my research at CREST, surrounded by brilliant researchers, amazing supervisors, and more than all, some bright doctoral peers. With the best of intentions, I wish today I could deliver an optimistic speech about our future. Now that you hear me say that, you think I will mention climate change. I could also mention violent conflict in some part of the world. But I think this year, there is one issue that is growing concern and has grown over the past months. The rise of obscurantism, but also the dramatic attacks against science itself. There can be no doubt that some individuals actively seek to harm science. Our colleagues across the Atlantic have been the hardest hit by these assaults, especially when they were working on giving rights to other people or to work on climate. For example, the paralysis of some meteorological institutions had disastrous consequences for research, but not only. It actually harmed some of my colleagues in research and some people working here at Institut Polytechnique de Paris. Today, I became a researcher at another prestigious institution. I work on the resilience of electrical systems facing climate change, and I have to say, I'm worried. And I would like to add some last-minute change to the speech, so sorry to the organizer. But you've heard probably these past days that in some part of the world, international students are not hosted properly. I would like to say I'm glad that it is not the value of IP Paris. I realized during my PhD that here international students are valued and welcome, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to meet so many of them. Finally, I'd like to say that our PhD taught us that the independence of research, transparency, exposure to different ideas, and the pursuit of truth, even when it was not really in our favor, are the very essence of science. During my thesis years, I learned here that there is no easy path. One cannot just close your eyes to a difficulty when you don't want to see it anymore. And I think, as newly doctor, we are now the guardians of science. Together, we can act to preserve research and science as it was handed out to us here on this campus. So I would like to call on my newly researchers peers. Please, keep sharing the fruits of your research to the widest possible audience, not just scientists. I call on my doctoral peers, even when they left academia. We had a nice example today. Please, continue to support your comrades and speak out publicly about these issues. Last but not least, I call on all our loved ones, present here today or not. Please, trust us, trust scientists. Trust the science, not the enemies of science. Science advances collectively, and it's within this collective that today we pass the first major test. Today, we graduate. Congratulations to our class, and I wish us a future as ambitious as the thesis we wrote here. Thank you.
Good afternoon. For some reason, I was also asked to give a testimony about life as a PhD student. So the task that was given to me, and I quote, was to talk about my background, what I remember from my thesis, and possibly something positive. So that's my plan today. First, my background. Second, what I remember from my thesis, and third, possibly something positive. Let's start with my background. So from the dawn of time, humankind has felt the urge to pursue a PhD, and was no exception to this. After very original studies for math students, so high school and classe préparatoire and grande école, I entered CIMAP as a PhD student, and this was after a research internship that I did in the same laboratory. And this was the starting point of my PhD. And probably like many of you, I had several different expectations for my PhD. I imagined that I would spend my days engaging in deep scientific and philosophical debates. Now, while I did have many fascinating discussions, I discovered that the most heated debates in the cafeteria was about the optimal times to go to lunch to avoid the crowd. But then, little by little, I understood that a PhD and research in general is not one homogeneous activity, but rather three different phases. First, what we usually call here as a bibliographic phase, where we read some papers that our advisor gave you. We read some more papers and the references inside the papers to understand our subjects. Second, what I think, and we usually think, is everything about research, looking for new results. These are very exciting moments, but sometimes very frustrating ones also. It involves a lot of trying new ideas until you realize that it doesn't work, and try again until you find your final luck. But finally, there is the writing phase, which is probably the writing the manuscript seems to give some nightmares to some PhD students, but once it's over, you can say to everyone that it was not so difficult after all, and you end up with a beautiful manuscript that you are slightly proud of. These phases are punctuated in a PhD by regular meetings with your advisors, but there are as many ways to organize meetings with advisors that there are advisors, I think. Short, long, or very long meetings, once every week or 2 weeks. But my biggest surprise in my PhD was the travel opportunities that research could give me. And I never traveled as much as I started my PhD, and I never had such a big carbon footprint, I think. In the end, if I have to remember something positive, I would say that being a PhD student is above all meeting new people, so great scientific collaborators with whom you can learn, great colleagues. We make the lab a pleasant working place, and great friends that we met along the way that we hope to keep for many years. Thank you, and congratulations to everyone.
Thank you, Alicia and Armand, for your testimonies. Now we will continue by honoring the second group of doctors, starting with the engineering, mechanics, and energy PhDs. And I call Sébastien Michelin to please join us on stage.
Quider Abdesalam. Laura Bagur. Sébastien Balesio. Alice Poilet. Valentin Bonnet. Manuel Carrasco. Jonathan Céspedes Rojas. Samuro Dansoko. Mateus de Lorenzo Oliveira. Joanne Delors. Ajar Filahi. Florian Gouillet. Alexandra Ogel. Fernando Hübner-Scherer. Julien Husson. Ivan Karsanski-Atala. Maud Cochet. Taha Laroussi. Enrico Lorenzetti. Madi Manoucher Tayebi. Olivier Marchand. Nikhil Mohanan. Kiki Tao. Lise Vatrin. Socratis Xenos. Chengguang Zheng. And congratulations to all of those who could not be here today.
Now to the Mathematics PhD program with Professor François Rouet.
Hi again. So I call to the stage and congratulate Loïc Balazi Hachi Niliama. Leila Bassou. Clara Carlier. Guillaume Chénetier. Christiane Duran Mateluna. Lucas Djerzak Gallet. Absent. Armand Gisler. Baptiste Gougeot. Arthur Loison. Francesco Morabito. Catherine Tania Morales Quinga. Louis Reboul. Et Manon Rivoire.
Congratulations to the Mathematics PhD program graduates who couldn't be with us today. Thank you, François. And now we move to the Physics PhD program with Professor Marie-Claire Chanclein.
Antoine Beauchesne. Joseph Chakar, Salma Elomari, Bruno Afonso Fontana Santos Alves, Bharadvaj Harikrishnan, Gwendal Enaf, Yasmine Kaur, Anna Krupka, Zhenyang Liu, Blandine Lordon, Adrien Lotti, Julia Mankowska, Maïnour Mobacher, Romain Pioche, Claude Alban Ranelli Verger-Després, Alioune Sey, Aïfa Taoum, Pavel Varlamov, et Elena Vernazza, Charlotte Vernozzi-Trouillet, Mathieu Villat.
Congratulations to the Physics PhD program graduates who couldn't be with us today. I'm going to move now to the Social Sciences and Management PhD program with Professor Adriana Tapu.
Olfa Shelby. Farah Doumit. Clément Leludec. Laurent Mertz. Les Song, je pense que pas là. Gabriel Verne. We would like also to congratulate those who could not be here with us. For the Department of Humanities, Art, Literature, and Languages, we congratulate also François Levin, who could not be here with us. And one last person who was a little bit late, and he's from Computer Science, Data, and Artificial Intelligence, so Monsef Boukhatem.
Thank you. And now, please join me in welcoming the IP Paris Postgraduate Alumni Association, represented today by Mr. or Dr. Joseph Shakar. His presence is a testament to the association's continued commitment to fostering a strong alumni network and supporting the success of our graduates. We are deeply grateful for their dedication and the valuable contributions they make to our community. Thank you. Please, Joseph.
Bonjour à tous. Good afternoon, everyone. It still feels kind of surreal to say this out loud, but we're officially doctors. Professor Tapis beat me to the joke, we're not real medical doctors. Sorry, Dad, but it still counts. We've made it this far, even though a part of me misses the student discounts. I know that we've sat through enough talks and presentations to last us a lifetime. Bad news, the presentations will never end. Good news, I will try to keep mine very short. So I'm here today to share a few words about the IP Paris Postgraduate Alumni Association. So as you probably already know, the doctoral school is now managed by IP Paris. So it's IP Paris that delivers our diplomas and not the individual member schools. So while some of us have had the chance to work with a lab within IP Paris, a lot of PhD students and graduates do not have a direct link or affiliation with one of the member schools. And this is also the case for the graduates of the IP Paris Master's Program who do not have an alumni community they can be a part of yet. I'm saying this because we are creating this community for all IP Paris alumni today so that we can stay connected, share opportunities, and support one another moving forward. Just like IP Paris itself, we're very new, we're very young. The association was created just last year. We're a small group of young, motivated alumni working together, and we're building things really from the ground up. We're currently defining the vision of the association. We're drafting new bylaws and thinking about how to take this association forward in the future. So we started by creating a LinkedIn group that you can join by scanning the QR code in the next slide. Great, oops, my bad. So you can scan this QR code, the big one, on the right to join the LinkedIn community to stay connected. And our first goal is to share with you guys the events and opportunities that are already offered by the well-established alumni associations of the member schools. And from there, our goal is to create our own events, start a newsletter, and open up chapters worldwide to reflect the diversity of the IP Paris community. So whatever your PhD path may be after the PhD, whatever you do, we'd love for you to join us in shaping the future of our alumni association. So if you'd like to stay connected, just scan the small QR code this time. It's small because the contact form is very small. We just want your contact information so that we can keep in contact after today. And if you'd like to get more involved and join our team to help us achieve our goals, just come and talk to me during the cocktail. I'll be around. I don't think I'm very hard to miss. And that's it. I hope I was brief enough. I'll see you at the cocktail, and congrats to us. Let's celebrate this new title. We're officially doctors now. Thanks.
Okay. And so now we are very pleased to announce the IP Paris Best Thesis Awards. So, and the department's awards. So this year, I just wanted to say that we received more than 50 applications, and all of which were thoroughly examined by our commission. And so the deliberation process was particularly challenging, given the outstanding quality of the submissions. So for all these reasons, so we are proud to award 2 ex aequo IP Paris Best Thesis Awards. And so these are going to Suhaib Ataiki from the Computer Science, Data and AI Department, and to Clément Leludec from the Social Sciences and Management Department. So let's give them a big round of applause. And now I would like to welcome Suhaib Ataiki to the stage for the first presentation. Yes, he's coming.
Hello, everyone. My name is Suhaib Ataiki, and I was a PhD student at l'IX, École Polytechnique in IP Paris. And my PhD was about deep learning methods for non-rigid shape correspondence. That is, finding meaningful matches between shapes when they are deformed. This has applications in medical imaging, animation, and archaeology. So in the recent years, we have seen a huge growth in 3D data, from body scans to 3D models in cultural heritage. But analyzing and comparing shapes is much harder than working with images or text, where deep learning already made huge strides. Here I'm showing two commercial applications, which are ChatGPT and DALL-E, but can we achieve similar results in 3D? One of the key problems in 3D is non-rigid shape matching, which is given two shapes, for example, two humans, we want to find correspondence between them. This task is essential for multiple applications, such as landmark detections, detection anomalies, or transferring quantities, such as animation or texture. But applying deep learning to 3D is hard. We have much less data, labels are noisy or missing, and 3D shapes come in many formats, such as point cloud meshes and volumetric grids. And on top of that, some shapes might be only partially visible, making the problem even harder. To address these issues, I developed several deep learning methods geared toward 3D non-rigid shape matching. Some of them are DPFM, which is the first deep model for partial non-rigid matching. It predicts both the overlapping region and dense correspondence. NCP, which introduces a neural prior that enables unsupervised matching by simply overfitting to noisy maps. And Clover, which provides theoretical insights into how functional maps work and how to improve their features. These methods achieved state-of-the-art results on multiple benchmarks, led to two new data sets and new theoretical results. More importantly, they enable robust downstream tasks like segmentation and key point detection, all of this with minimal supervision. In summary, my work bridges theory and practice in 3D shape matching, making it more accurate, robust, and interpretable. Looking ahead, I'm excited about combining these techniques with recent advances in large vision and language models for 3D understanding, and applying it to other domains like volumetric grids. Thank you.
So thank you, Suhaib. So this work, it's really very interesting, and with all the publications and the work that you have done, it's amazing. So we now invite Clément Leludec to the stage for his presentation.
Hello, everyone. They asked me to sum up 4 years of work in 3 minutes, which is quite challenging, but I'd like to start by Just a few words about this recognition. I'm very honored to receive this award today. And about my research, I basically study how human labor are feeding an artificial intelligence system. I study data annotation work that makes systems like ChatGPT possible. This is very important work because many computer scientists are using this work that is mostly done in the global south to shape today's AI systems. The thing is, behind these systems are thousands of often invisible workers who label, sort, verify, and verify data. Many of them are based in the global south, for example, in Madagascar, where I conducted my fieldwork. And they are all young people spending their days annotating data for us, for our AI models. My research starts from two main observations. The first one is that most study in the field were focused on English-speaking countries like the US or the UK. And most of these studies pay little attention to the companies, the AI companies that demand this kind of labor and how they are organizing this data annotation work. The second observation is more about how we understand the contribution of these workers. These workers were often called micro workers, but we rarely ask in research how they are actually contributing to AI systems. What I found now is that unlike the usual crowdsourcing model that was used in AI research or even in many AI startups, annotators are more closely involved in shaping AI models. They are not just doing repetitive tasks. They are influencing how data is structured, how quality is maintained, and ultimately how AI models are working. But the thing is, while their jobs are seen as low-skilled, many of these workers develop real expertise over time. We're seeing sort of professionalization among those workers, even in places like Madagascar, where unfortunately their revenue is still very low and their future remains uncertain. What does it mean for the future of AI? I would say that first, for policymakers, if those data annotators are helping to build these systems, they should be valued and considered. There is a legislative effort today called the AI Act, trying to regulate the AI industry, but this legislative effort don't really take into account the existence of those workers. Regarding how AI is being made in Occidental countries, we have interesting research lying at the intersection of social sciences and computer science, showing that the way we organize data annotation have an impact on the quality of AI models. So this is something that is quite interesting, even in order to make a contribution as social scientists for computer science. I would just like to end by thanking many people who made this research possible. My supervisor, Paula Tubaro, Maxime Cornet, who is a fellow PhD researcher and a co-author, and my whole research project team called the Diploma team, the workers that I met also in Madagascar, and of course my family and my partner, Philippine, for her patience, strength, and unwavering support throughout this long journey. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Clément, for this very inspiring and very nice presentation of your thesis. And now let me announce the department awards. So we're going to start with the Best Thesis Award for the Information, Communication and Electronics Department, which is given to Abdelaziz Bunhar. So let's welcome Abdelaziz to the stage for his presentation.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abdelaziz Bunhar, and it's really a great pleasure and honor to receive this prestigious award today. I first want to thank God for this blessing, alhamdulillah, as we say back home, but I also feel profoundly grateful to my supervisors, both Professors Michel Viguer and Mireille Sarkis, whose guidance, dedication, and support have been really invaluable throughout the PhD. And my sincere thanks goes to the jury for this recognition, but also, and most importantly, to my parents. May God have mercy on them, my dear sister and my dear friends. So, what was this PhD about? Well, we've basically looked at a very specific form of secret communication, one in which the transmission itself has to remain covered, meaning completely undetectable to an external observer. For example, and thanks to ChatGPT, I can give a nice example through an image. So let's imagine Alice right here. She has a message that she wants to reliably transmit to Bob at your left side without being detected by the warden. And so intuitively, to achieve this, she has to be discreet, like really, really discreet. And therefore, she will start transmitting at such a low power so that her signal just looks like noise. And so a key characteristic in this transmission scheme is energy efficiency. But why is this important? Well, it actually seems great for securing IoT communication for different reasons, mainly because these devices are often faced with limited computational power, but also battery life. And so we began this thesis by studying the information theoretic fundamental limits of covered communication, both on the single and multi-user settings. And what information theory allows us is to derive the fundamental limits or largest data rates that you can have for this setup to work, but also, and if possible, sometimes to derive the optimal schemes that gives you the optimal code to get to these large data rates. And so it was known that covered communication sometimes requires a secret key. But was not known is how much secret key you need for any given data rate. And so by answering this question, we solved an open problem. We also unveiled a yet unknown regime where all users can communicate simultaneously at their largest data rate without any trade-off between each other. And as communication is moving towards semantic or goal-oriented models, we pioneered the concept of covered semantics, derived its fundamental limits, and thereby pushed covered communication towards this new paradigm. But real systems are actually far more complex than what we can think of. Not all users need coveredness, not every device behaves the same. But it turns out during the PhD that actually covered communication can benefit from this complexity. And so one of the most challenging parts was to extend our previous finding to these more general setups that are more realistic and encompass both covered and non-covered users. Okay, and finally, theory is nice, right? But when it comes to practice, it's another story. And so, because the users are often faced with channel conditions that often change, they have stochastic data arrival, and the battery is not always full, right? And so, to tackle these challenges, we devised reinforcement learning algorithms that achieve state-of-the-art performance in terms of data rates, energy efficiency, but most importantly, to security. And with this, I want to thank you for your time and thank everyone that has contributed to this. Thank you.
Thank you for this presentation. Now, the best thesis award for the economics department goes to Rafaela Andres. Rafaela, please come on the stage for your presentation.
So, hello everyone, I'm Rafaela and I'm very honored to receive this thesis award of the Econ department for my thesis on policy interventions in the digital economy. So as you know, the digital economy comes with great potentials, which mostly stem from the facilitated communication between individuals, between firms, and between individuals and firms. However, it also brings about many new challenges, as such competition barriers coming from digital technologies, and also the threat of a polarized society due to online fake news and online hate speech. So there is a great consent among policymakers and platform managers that measures are needed to tackle these challenges. These measures might include, for example, public funding schemes, regulation, voluntary content moderation. However, there's so far not much empirical evidence on their effectiveness, and this is where my thesis now comes in. I look at 3 distinct policy interventions, and I come to the conclusion that these policy interventions can differ greatly in the digital compared to the non-digital world. So my first chapter hints or stresses the importance of fastly changing environments and technologies in the digital world. It actually uncovers an unintended negative side effect of a policy, in this case a public funding scheme, which slows down the digitization of firms, although of course it was meant to increase the competitiveness of those firms. And the reason for that is that the policy was not up to date and neglected current state-of-the-art technologies. The second chapter shows that new challenges also require new forms of regulations. In this case, in the platform economy, there's not always a direct channel to platform users. So if you think about social media, everyone can just hide behind fake user accounts and are not always traceable. So in the case of online hate speech, the regulator had to find a new way, and because it could not always trace the single users, so it targets the distributing platforms. And I analyzed the first regulation targeting the prevalence of online hate speech, and I find that this new regulation is indeed effective and reduces the prevalence of online hate speech on Twitter, which is now X. And the third chapter sheds light on the low replication costs in the creator economy, which also differs from the offline world. I show in this chapter that content creators and also content consumers act strategically and shift efforts and also times across platforms. And this shows us that policy interventions cannot be considered in isolation, but always need to consider potential spillover effects to different platforms. And taken together, my thesis shows that digital specificities must definitely be acknowledged when designing policies. So these findings are crucial to design well-targeted policies and to avoid unintended side effects, and I think are therefore of interest to policymakers, managers, but also the general public. Thank you.
Thank you for this very inspiring presentation. So now I would like to announce the Best Thesis Award for the Engineering, Mechanics, and Energy Department that goes to Alice Boilet. Please, Alice, come to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. So thank you very much for highlighting the work I did during my PhD. So this is the name of the work I did. What you have to remember is that I worked on optimization of racing strategies. and it was in the context of the preparation for the Olympics, so within the Science 2024 program. So instead of doing a global overview, I'll talk about a case study so that you'll understand the spirit of my thesis. So one of the things we studied was the team pursuit event in track cycling. It's a 4,000-meter race on a 250-meter velodrome. As you can see, there are 4 starting cyclists, and after a while, they go in between each other in order to benefit from aerodynamical drafting. And you'll see that after a while, the first one is going at the back of the peloton, and so they're taking relays. Given that, we can define a strategy that is defined by the order of the cyclist, the length of the relays, and the power at the front, or in other words, how fast they're going. You'll see right there, she's gonna pass her relay. And since there are a lot of choices, coaches asked us what the optimal strategy choices would be in terms of minimizing the time for the race. So in order to answer that, what we did was the following. We took a given strategy, we input it into a mechanical model, so taking into account the specificity of the sport so that we could get a theoretical ending time. However, any strategies aren't possible, some strategies are not possible, and so we have to have some constraint. And the constraint comes from the physiology of the cyclists, and so we developed individual digital twin models with an analogy with energy and fluids that would allow us from a given strategy to say whether it would be possible or not. And so then we coupled this model with numerical optimization in order to predict optimal strategies for very specific athletes and very specific teams. There were real practical application during, last summer. For example, a coach would come and say, oh, I have those 4 cyclists. I'm wondering, should I put them in this order, this order, this order? We would take the cyclist, parameterize the digital twins, run the optimization and say, oh, this seems to be the optimal order with those relay length and relay power. I also worked on similar questions for rowing with the French Rowing Federation and also other things, but that's really the spirit of my PhD. And with that, there's a lot of people to thank, but here are some people I worked with during my PhD. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alice. And now we are going to hear the winner of the Best Thesis Award for the Department of Mathematics. And the winner is Baptiste Gougeot. And welcome.
All right. Thank you very much. So first and foremost, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to present my work in a few minutes. From a course to final level, I would like also to thank the IPP Institute, École Polytechnique, and the CEMAP Lab for hosting my PhD during those 3 years. And of course, my PhD supervisors, Emeric Deleveux and Adrien Taylor, respectively from École Polytechnique and INRIA. So my PhD is about optimization, and eventually, my PhD is about optimization, and as you've seen so far, and especially in the previous talk, it can be used for various applications. One of it is machine learning, so I chose this one as a motivation because you've seen machine learning a lot recently in the media, referred to as AI usually. And it has a lot of applications like folding proteins, like answering questions, detecting tumors in MRI or whatever. But what I would like to tell you here is that machine learning is always about learning a function, right? Computer science in general is writing a function. Implementing a code is writing a function. But sometimes the function can be really hard to find. A code, a task can be difficult. So what we do in machine learning is basically we don't choose the function to implement. We choose a model. So a parametric class of function parameterized by some parameter theta. And we let the computer do the thing. We let the computer choose the right data. And for that, we provide it with examples, annotated data typically. And the computer will just be fed by data, choose some parameter theta, and be able to evaluate its accuracy, and it will output some sort of error, depending on theta. So that's basically a function of theta. And the goal is to minimize this function of theta. So finding the parameter theta that minimizes some function. So here is the mathematical part, and that's what I've been focusing in during my PhD. Finding the minimizer of a function, continuous function. So for that, we have algorithms like the gradient descent introduced almost 2 centuries ago that basically consist in trying some iterates, some theta, some value of theta. Here I denoted it by x. And then moving in the direction of the steepest descent of the function. So that's a basic algorithm. Here is another one, the heavy ball one, with an additional term that basically try to mimic the movement the motion of a ball rolling on the surface of the function, keeping the kinetic energy that it has accumulated so far. And this is one of my main contributions. It's called PEPIT, and that's basically a research assistant. So far, what we want to do in research, in optimization research, is finding guarantees on top of an algorithm. So basically, of the type, for any function verifying some sort of assumption, then I can guarantee you that gradient descent will work, and by how much. We basically try to quantify this. So for that, we have to manipulate inequalities, find proof, and so on. And it has been developed during the past years, some sort of procedures to do it. So we implemented all that. We defined a very specific procedure that we implemented in Python, so we can basically pip install this package, and it has already been done about 40,000 times, something like this. And it enables you to conduct research, to find guarantees, proofs, and eventually to design algorithms more easily. The documentation also contains a lot of examples, a lot of reference of optimization literature. So it's also used for teaching. And I personally use it also for reviewing because it enables you to check the claims very quickly, very easily before diving into the details of the proofs. So that's one of my contributions. I would like to quickly mention the last one because it's important for me personally. Because this heavy ball algorithm, which has been introduced half of a century ago, has been introduced to accelerate over the gradient descent, to be faster than gradient descent, and it is on quadratic functions. And most people think it is in general. There are a lot of papers in the literature claiming it does accelerate, but all the proofs are wrong. And we found a lot of lecture notes claiming this also. And 6 years ago, some professor asked me to prove it, because we knew that all the proofs in the literature was wrong. And I've been unsuccessful. And since we developed the previous work I told about, I thought I had the right tool to finally achieve this, and still was not successful, until we realized it was completely false. So we finally proved, by developing another tool, to basically disprove convergence of algorithms, that the heavy ball algorithm cannot accelerate over gradient descent over a larger class of function, which, for those who want details, are the class of smooth and strongly convex functions. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this. We'll know how to prove now. Now, the best thesis award for the physics departments goes to Mathieu Villat. Mathieu, please join us.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for being here. I would like to present you the thesis that I have done here in École Polytechnique in CPHT under the supervision of Marios Petropoulos, and also in Greece in the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki under the supervision of Anastasios Petkou. I would like to thank both of them, also both institutes, École Polytechnique, and in particular the CPHT, and the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. Let me also thank all the people that helped me during my PhD and supported me, especially my friends and my family. So for those who may wonder, Adventures in Wonderland is the actual title of my PhD. And I chose this title for a reason that will become clear during the presentation. So I would like to bring you with me into a journey in Wonderland, so we will dive into the rabbit hole and see what we find there. So the goal is to explain the forces of nature. If you study them, you will see that there are four fundamental forces: electromagnetism, the strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force, and gravity. The first three forces describe physics at the microscopic level, and gravity is more suitable to explain phenomena at the microscopic scales of the universe and the galaxies. The ultimate goal of theoretical high-energy physics is to unify these four forces in a single framework that would be compatible with physics at the fundamental level, with physics at the quantum level. Unsurprisingly, the first three forces, electromagnetism, strong nuclear force, and weak nuclear force, could be unified into a single theory that is called the Standard Model of Particle Physics. It's a quantum theory of fields that works very well in the sense that it reproduces the result that we observe in particle colliders, like in the LHC in Switzerland. If one tries to do the same for gravity, it fails for the moment. So the question that we want to address is how to make gravity work in the microscopic world and be compatible with quantum physics. A possible road towards this quantum version of gravity is what is called the holographic paradigm. So you will consider a region of space-time that admits a frontier. Inside, you will consider a phenomena, a gravitational phenomena, that could be described using quantum gravity in big D dimensions. This is something that we don't master, that we don't know how to do. But we can mathematically prove that studying quantum gravity inside of a region of space-time is completely equivalent than studying a quantum theory which does not use gravity on the boundary of this space-time. So the first conclusion is that you can actually explain quantum gravity without using gravity, and also that all the information that is inside of the space-time is recasted on the frontier of the space-time. So you just need to study the frontier. Therefore, gravity is a hologram. There exist three types of holography, depending on the curvature lambda of what is of the inside. The curvature can be either positive, then it is curved like a sphere. It's a model that describes our universe at big scales, so the cosmology, but there is no holographic principle yet. The curvature can also be equal to 0, like a sheet of paper. In that case, we can describe the gravitational waves that are emitted in our galaxy, but we do not have an holographic paradigm yet. Or it can be negative, curved like a horse saddle. This describes nothing that we know in the universe, but we have a holographic paradigm. So the goal of my PhD was to start from the case lambda negative that we master, take it to 0, and try to explain gravitational waves in the galaxy, so the flat case. What is the physics that we expect on the boundary of the flat case? We start by what we know in the negative case, lambda negative, and we know that studying quantum gravity in a negatively curved spacetime is equivalent to a theory on the boundary whose maximal velocity is a strictly positive number. On the contrary, in the flat case, the one that is relevant in our galaxy, if we study quantum gravity in the inside, the theory on the boundary that explains this quantum gravity has for maximal velocity 0. So you may say this is a very weird world, a world without any motion. It's a world in which it takes all the running you can do to stay at the same place, as the Red Queen would say to Alice when she is in Wonderland. This is why this weird type of physics have been given the name of Carroll physics, the physics of Alice in Wonderland. So in a nutshell, my PhD thesis was about exploring Carroll physics. I studied its geometry, the fluid mechanics there, and I designed some tools to go from the case lambda negative that we master to the case lambda equal to 0 relevant for gravitational waves. And the main result we obtained with my collaborators is that if you consider the fusion of two black holes in the inside of the space-time, this phenomena obeys some equations, and we were the first to find the way to rederive these equations using Carrollian physics, so without using the inside, but only the frontier. So this result means that the road towards a quantum explanation for gravity may pass through the kingdom of the Red Queen. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much. Now I know a little bit more about the Carrollian physics and the adventures in the Wonderland, and I really liked it. Thank you. Now let's talk about the best thesis award for the chemistry departments that goes to Rafaela Bechara. Rafaela, please come to the stage for the presentation.
Thank you so much. I would first like to thank you, the jury, for this prize, this prestigious prize. And I'm very honored to be representing the chemistry department. I know my fellow colleagues in the chemistry department also did a great work, so it's really an honor. So my work was about the grafting of silane complexes on silicon by means of atom transfer radical polymerizations for applications in catalysis. So the catalysis, the big challenge is to reuse and recycle this catalyst after we do a reaction. So the goal of this thesis was to graft the catalyst on supports so we can then reuse and recycle these catalysts very easily. And with this, so we have our product and the supported catalyst separated from the reaction mixture very easily, and we can be in accordance with green chemistry. So the goal of the project is to build such a catalyst in which we perform multi-step catalysis using only one supported catalysis, and we do that by click chemistry or nucleophilic substitution for the attachment of the complexes. And we also use atom transfer radical polymerization so we can control and the spacing and composition of the catalytic chains. And the support chosen in my thesis is the macropore silicon, because silicon and carbon have a very strong bond. So then we would not have a leaching of the catalyst, and also because we have a large specific area of the material, so it means we have high loading of catalyst per surface of material. But before doing this with materials, I also needed to see if it works in solution. So first, I show here two examples. So the first one was using only one complex for one specific reaction. And it was really great, already showed good conversions and a good reactivity, and it was used up to 7 times, the same exactly catalyst. And the second example, I used 2 different complexes, two different reactions, and also with good selectivity and reactivity of the catalyst. And again, I'm using exactly the same material, so I can re-engage it multiple times, and I don't need to do any other catalyst again and again. After I applied this on the materials, on the surface, so first by grafting the initiator on the surface, and then doing surface-initiated atom transfer radical polymerization, and later the click of the complexes on the surface. This was very important to characterize the materials, and actually this was the first time in the literature that we have silicon materials used for catalysis. So the next step is to apply all these concepts to porous silicon nanoparticles, which has even higher surface area to then be applied to the catalytic systems. Thank you.
Thank you for this very nice presentation. And last but not least, so the best thesis award for the biology departments goes to Nikita Novikov. So Nikita, please join us on the stage for your presentation.
Okay, so hello everyone. So my name is Nikita Novikov, and first of all, I wanted to thank the PhD thesis committee for opportunity to present my work and for this prize. So I was working during my PhD on the role of a specific protein called the NHSL3 in cell migration. So in our lab, we're studying the process of cell migration, which is important for the normal biological processes such as wound healing or immune response, and as well as for example, cancer cell metastasis. So there is a specific signaling pathway, which is called the RAC wave RAP2/3 pathway, which fuels the cell migration. So there are a lot of different proteins that regulate this signaling pathway, and the newest one, when I started, was the protein called NHSL3. So it wasn't even called there NHSL3, it was called another unspecified name, but during my study, it was included in this, in the NHSL family of proteins. So basically, I've asked two questions. Does it regulate cell migration? And if so, what are the mechanisms involved? Are they through this known pathway, or maybe other some hidden differences? Will it work? No, it won't. Okay. So first of all, what I was able to show is that NHSL3 is a negative regulator of single cell migration, and that it's required for the collective cell migration. Unfortunately, the movies will not work, but that's okay. So then we found indeed the function of this protein, but there was a bit of a problem. We found also that by means of proteomics, we found that this protein, NHSL3, that it interacts with a lot of different other proteins, so up to 300 for some isoforms of this NHSL3 protein. So the problem is, how do we distinguish the partners that are indeed involved in this specific phenotype, in this single or collective cell migration? So if we were to do this by hand, just check every partner, I wouldn't finish my PhD in like 100 years. So we went for the more modern approach, and we used the artificial intelligence, because this is what everyone does nowadays, I guess. We used AlphaFold 2 to determine the most promising partners for the NHSL3. So we found the specific partner that was supposed to be involved in single cell migration together with NHSL3, and specific partner that was involved with collective cell migration. So after this, we had to confirm these AlphaFold predictions. So, for example, for single cell migration, it was shown that there is another protein which was not yet known to be involved in the RAC wave RAP2/3 pathway, called the 1433 theta. So we found that my protein, NHSL3, interacts with this 1433 theta, and via AlphaFold we were able to specifically predict the places of interaction between two proteins. And when we abolished this interaction, we saw that the NHSL3 stops affecting the single cell migration. So this was for the single cell migration. As for the collective cell migration, we basically had a few predicted partners by the AlphaFold, and we had to screen them all. And when we screened all 4 of them, we found a specific one which was involved in the specific collective cell migration phenotypes, while the others were not. So all of this basically resulted in this big paper about the how NHSL3 is involved in regulation of single and collective cell migration. So, of course, this work was done on normal cells, but this is transferable. This mechanism is, I believe, transferable to the cancer cells, for example. So I wanted to thank also my supervisor, Alexis Gautreau, and the IP Paris and École Polytechnique for allowing me to work here and to defend my PhD here. Thank you.
So thank you all for all this very nice presentation. So I would like to congratulate all of them and also all of you for all the excellent work that you have conducted at IP Paris, and you should be proud to be an alumni of IP Paris. And now, so we would like to invite also the awardees, so here on the stage, together with Rémi Danglas, Professor Kees van der Beek, Professor and VP of Education and Student Life, Elisabeth Crépon, and François Roueff here on the stage.
Now the two Best Thesis Award of IP Paris to Sohaib Ataki and Clément Leludec. Thank you. Dear graduates, we come to the end of this ceremony. You are now doctors of Institut Polytechnique de Paris, an institution that holds curiosity, excellence, and impact at its core. With this title comes not only pride, but also purpose. You carry with you the knowledge to lead, the vision to innovate, and the responsibility to serve science and society. Whether you pursue academia, industry, entrepreneurship, or public service, do so with the same rigor and passion that defined your doctoral path. On behalf of the entire IP Paris community, I offer you my warmest congratulations. We are proud of what you've achieved and even more excited for what lies ahead. Thank you, and once again, bravo. Now, I kindly ask families, friends, and guests to remain seated. I would like to invite our president and vice presidents, as well as the doctoral school directors and PhD program directors, to join us on stage at the center. And I invite our newly minted doctors to come forward for a commemorative photo and the traditional hat-throwing ceremony also on stage. Afterwards, you are all warmly welcome to join us for a celebratory cocktail in the Grand Hall. Thank you, everyone, and congratulations again.
Bonjour, est-ce que vous pouvez, s'il vous plaît, vous resserrer un tout petit peu vers le centre, prendre un petit instant. Les personnes qui sont devant moi, s'il vous plaît, pour la photo, juste, après vous pourrez faire toutes vos photos, mais il faudrait que je puisse avoir l'angle sur les côtés. S'il vous plaît, les personnes qui sont devant moi. Excusez-moi, il faut vraiment que je puisse avoir... Excusez-moi, excuse me, it's impossible for photo. Excusez-moi, il faut vraiment que tout le monde soit, sinon je ne pourrais pas faire la photo. Je vais vous demander dans quelques instants, je vais faire le décompte de 10 à partir de 10 et à 0, je vous propose de jeter vos tocs en arrière s'il vous plaît, tous en même temps, me regardant. Merci. Tu peux faire le décompte s'il te plaît.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, get ready, 2, 1, 0.
It's perfect, thank you. Merci beaucoup à tout le monde et bravo.